Intro. Good morning, guys. So today we are starting the 5th book to A Court of Thorns and Roses, and that is A Court of Silver Flames. This book has technically, I got a hardcover. It was technically hauled. This paperback was not hauled, but when I picked it up, I was like, hey, this seems a little bit long. Like, it seems bigger, but it might be the size. No, it's because it's massively bigger than the rest. All the books are this size, not this size, but height, you know, and they fit perfectly on a shelf and all of that. Why is this one ginormous? And so I'm not happy with that. Honestly, I can't believe I'm already to the 5th book. It's kind of crazy to me. I felt like when I first bought A Court of Thorns and Roses, I was like, I'm not gonna like it, because that was like my first middle grade fantasy, I guess you could call it. Really, you're gonna eat right now? I don't know, but I'm kind of sad about that. So, but I really didn't think I was gonna like it, and now here I am trying to finish the rest of the series. Oh god, in May. Like I said, this one has not been hauled, so when I film my haul, hopefully soon, I'm just waiting on 2 books. I know this book was written very differently. Oh, I didn't even look up, sorry. Apparently I'm gonna have a high day? Yeah, but a high functioning day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Technically, I could probably really finish this in less than 5 days. It just sucks because 2 of those days are the weekend for me to finish it in the month of May. You're probably not seeing this in May though. I think no, there would be no possible ways that y'all are seeing this in May. So yeah. Also, let's go ahead and check Libby. Oh, we can return this one early for A Court of Frost and Starlight. Find my next read. I will go ahead and place my hold even. Hi, Angel. What are you doing? It's like an 11-week wait. I don't get 11 weeks. I will be reading this physically unless somehow 135 people go through it faster, which is weird because the rest of the books, they had unlimited supply, so I wonder why they only have a few of these. But so A Court of Silver Flames is a ginormous book. It's the last book in A Court of Thorns and Roses. Well, that is right now out of published. Nesta Archeon has always been proud, swift to anger, and slow to forgive. And since the war, since being made High Fae against her will, she struggled to forget the horror she endured and find a place for herself within the strange and deadly Night Court. The person who ignites her temper more than any other is Cassian, and the battle-scarred winged warrior who is there at Nesta's every turn. But her temper isn't the only thing Cassian ignites, and when they are forced to train and battle together, sparks become flame. As the threat of war casts its shadow over them once again, Nesta and Cassian must fight monsters from within and without if they are to stand a chance of halting the enemies of their court, but the ultimate risk will be searching for acceptance and healing in each other's arms. The Court of Thorns and Roses continues in the sexy, action-packed novel by #1 author Time. Whoa, this map though! Holy cow! This is beautiful. So, we're gonna get to this and try and finish it by the end of May. That's our goal. To do that, we would have to split it up between 5 days, which would be, what did I say, 751 pages. So, 751 divided by... So I would have to read roughly, at least minimally, 150 pages per day. We could do that. But I could do that. As long as the story's interesting. And, I mean, it sucks because in a month I am kind of busy. But if I read and then, yeah, I could do that. I can read and then do what I need to, or do what I need to then read. I need to Today is my son's last day of school, and literally he just has to get on one meeting and then he's done. Oh, also, the bookmark we will be using is the one that we got from Book Depository, because this book was from Book Depository, and they sent me, if it will focus, they sent me it with this. And if you're new here, then you would know that, you wouldn't know that anytime a book, like book of the month comes, I put the bookmark for that book of the month with the book of the month, and that bookmark stays with it. So I don't know, I just feel like it's a little treasure, and so that will be this one. It's kind of cardboardy, so we'll see how well I take care of it. This video will go ahead and contain spoilers. Sorry, so if you were expecting a non-spoiler video, I just do not feel right, or I did not enjoy vlogging the second book when I did no spoilers, because it's like, oh boy, look at you. So yeah, there will be spoilers in this, but let's talk about the first 22 pages. And before I stop reading, I'm going to go ahead. Okay, I didn't realize I had literally one page left of the chapter. I'm going to finish this chapter and then I'll come talk to you. Okay, so in the chapter, it did kind of switch between, it started with Cassian and then it moved to Nesta. I like it. It worked because it says it at the beginning, and then it's also not really like first person. It's more like, instead of saying I, it's he, she, and I don't know, were the other books like that? It might have been, I just don't remember. What else? So we know that little Miss Nesta is being a hoe, pretty much. And Cassian had to go and get her because Feyre wanted a meeting. And if I can find a picture of Feyre's new house, I'll put it here. But they built their house. I think it said it was, okay, I want to say it's been a year since the war, but they built the house. They made the house kind of homey, and they're having this meeting. Let's see who's there. 14 months. I knew I was gonna find it. So there's Amren, Rise, Cassian, and Feyre. Mor and Elaine are not there, but those are who is at this meeting. She's just, Nesta is just being defiant and not wanting to listen. And so finally, Rise said, you're going to stay and you're going to listen. And then Feyre got on to him, and Feyre was pretty much like, I'm tired of your bullshit behavior. Your bullshit behavior is getting really annoying. Like, we need you to stop this shit because we're ready to move on. Like, not move on, but we're ready to just, you need a change. And so she was like, the apartment's gone, all of this. She's like, well, where am I going to go? And Cassian was like, you're going to train with me. So I'm super excited because, yes, I'm not the biggest fan of Nesta. I feel like she's just, I understand now she's really dealing with a lot, especially going through a war and not even accepting the fact that she was Fae and then going into a war. I understand that. I get it. But maybe this book will make me a fan of Nesta. I don't know. I want to know where more is because of how she was in the last book. Hopefully I see her, or else I'm just gonna keep thinking about her. Elaine, I don't know what Elaine's doing, but I'm only, how far am I in? I'm literally at chapter 2, so page 25. But now I'm gonna go work some before I continue to read. My goal, I am 130 pages from my daily goal to stay on track. The only other thing besides work is I need to take my son's third grade photos. And that's it. Okay, can we talk about how descriptive this book is? It's like you can literally see the city. All the other books might have been like that, but I feel like it's just more, it's more like and they're doing it a lot more. So I'm listening to a recording of it, and so I don't know what page I'm on. I think I'm on chapter 6. So they're about to go on their first day of training. I just got to chapter 6. Yeah, it's just very descriptive. It is kind of weird not hearing Rysand's point of view and Feyre's point of view, but it's a very good book so far. Nothing's really happened besides her just being really just her not wanting to participate. So I don't know, but she did go into detail about the war, about how I think she pretty much just got terrified because Cassian was just like, I wish we could, my biggest regret is not having you. And then he almost died. And then he didn't die, so she's kind of like, wait, what? Yes, I made my goal of 150 pages. Technically it's midnight, but I made it. That's all that matters. I'm on track. So tomorrow I do have to edit, so it's going to be a little bit rougher to read than it was today, but I think I can do it because that video is almost done. I'm going to update tomorrow morning. Also, Mads is now listening to the audiobook for Court of Thorns and Roses, and I'm so excited. Good morning. Technically, it's not gonna focus. It's 10:49, so it's almost afternoon. But I have completely finished my tomorrow's video, and now I'm getting ready to read. But I figured if I read more past page 156 and chapter 14, I would update you. I really don't know where the last time I updated you guys was. So technically, it's the first day of summer here, and of course, it's gonna be a rainy, gloomy day. Like first day of summer from school. And let's see what has happened. Hold on, I gotta shake out my blanket. Okay, so where did I even leave y'all at? So Cassian is supposed to be training, and Amryn told him, like, just don't give up, just keep going at it, you'll be fine, like, just keep going and just don't stop giving her your hand. Well, she ended up falling down their stairs because to get out of the House of Wind you either have to winnow, fly, or go down 10,000 steps, and she cannot fly and she cannot winnow, at least not right now that we know of. She has to walk down the steps, and she really wants to drink, and so she fell down, and yeah, so now she's all beat up. Then she goes to bed. The house seems to be working in her favor, like the house just makes sure everybody is comfortable, and she was like, no, I don't want fire going, so it took her the fire off, but like warmed the rest of her room, and then food and all that stuff, so it's really cool. Then the second day she did not work out. The third day they made a bargain. Yeah, they made a bargain. Oh, there's a lot of smut talk, I guess is what is the proper term, but it is a little bit spicy, and I'm trying, like you, I kind of am enjoying the different thoughts of how they kind of have like a hate to love relationship. Like obviously they like each other because of their bond, but they don't have, there's nothing that's really there to say, hey, we really like each other. They just have like this really hate-love type of relationship, and it's pretty crazy. Oh, let's see if I can find that. For, not, I don't want to call it foreplay, but a lot of like teasing back and forth. So you can tell like they kind of like each other, and then their inner monologue just wants to jump each other's bones like constantly. And so there's that. But it's just, it's kind of cool. I wasn't a fan of Nesta, so I think that's also why I'm having a hard time reading it. But I did reach my goal yesterday, so today's goal is another 150 pages, which technically a little bit less because I read 156. So 300 literally ends at chapter 28. So I also did upload or update my Goodreads this morning. So it says that 150 pages in is 19% in. So Baron, not Lucian's father, but Eris's father, you know, technically, you know, his stepdaddy, I guess, is really starting to piss me off, and I wish we could just move on, but we can't. Oh, Nesta did fight and or train. Now she's training again. I was just reading, but my brain's like slipping. Oh, this, the house. I wish the house could take care of me like that, because that would be great. Like, feed me whenever I'm hungry, run a bath, and pick a book. Yes, that's all I know. Okay. So I am now at 183. I am doing some laundry. And where did I put, was it in here? Okay, I put my bookmark somewhere. It's on the floor. Okay, so whew, that last scene. So they were talking, getting really deep and close, and then he like kind of instigated her, so she like pushed him up against the wall, and there's some real big sexual tension between these two. And at this point it's like, do it, just Nesta, give it up. Cassian, give it up. I understand. Also, this whole darkness thing that's in the library, crazy. Okay, cool. Where's Brax? What is it, Braxius? I miss him, her, it. Kind of disappeared, you know? What else happened? I'm very curious of where Braxius is. I'm curious of this thing in the darkness in the library. The library scenes are pretty cool. Lily was not kidding when she said the smut in this book. Okay, so like I said, I'm listening to an audiobook. If you don't know, I have 2 kids and I live with my in-laws. Luckily, nobody's home besides me, the kids, and my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law reads smut, so cool. Yeah, great. Kids not in the room. When I'll tell you, I had to quickly turn down my computer because, whew. All right, let's see. Let's just flip open the page. So literally 184 or 183, the bottom to 184 is of Nesta masturbating and thinking it's Cassian. Cool, great. Then very descriptive too, by the way. Cool. Not even mad about it, just had to quickly turn down my computer because it was like a screaming. And then they were so riled up that not only did Nesta masturbate, she also, then Cassian not only masturbated once, but 3 times, so he can calm down. And it would have been so much better if they had just did it. We're getting there. Great. Every time I get to a good part, I text Lily about it. Yeah, let's continue. I might not be able to read this as an audiobook. So they're at the table, and once again, teenager Cassian over here and teenager Nesta. Cassian had to leave the table because he had a boner, and so now they're about to start doing extra training again, and today is core, and they're talking about, she's like, oh, you're gonna give me abs like you? And he's like, only I have abs like me. And she's like, well, rise in abs, you know. And I love how all these sisters just keep comparing these 3 brothers because it's great. They do it. And so then he goes, and she's like, well, rise in abs have it. And he goes, I have like 1 or 2 muscles on it. And she was like, I don't see it. He goes, maybe they're somewhere else. And I was like, I love Cassian. He's like, Yes, please. Nesta's kind of growing on me with now that she's like relaxed a little bit, but my god. Yeah, I don't know how much more I can listen to this on my thing, my audiobook. So this is, let's see how training goes. I just want to say the way Nesta feels about ab workouts and working out in general, I feel ya. She was like, it's torture. Yes, I agree. Ab workouts, total torture. Now Cassian's working out and I'm here for it. Go for it, baby. I swear guys, I'm almost done and then I get to work on the rest. So we are now at 2:07 of the book, pretty decently in. So we just witnessed the meeting between Elaine and Nesta, and it was their first meeting in a very long time, and Nesta was just trying, or Elaine was just trying to be nice. Nesta was the one that put her wall up and was just ugly, and it was just, I think it was too soon, honestly. That's a lot. Nesta did kind of say if you showed up a few seconds earlier, our dad would still be alive, and it was just kind of like, kind of pushing it there. But yeah, so here we go. Just wanted to give an update of where I was at. Okay, so I definitely had to pause my audiobook because I'm on chapter 19 and so they were kind of like going off, and but I'm guessing they are, it's really happening. It's finally happening. 216 pages in and it's finally happening. Thank God. Alright, so I'm gonna read this. I have a feeling it's not gonna go all the way. Nope. We'll see. I'll see you at the end of this, I guess. You know, not everybody's first time is gonna be great. I'm sorry, Cassie. Would be me. I mean, he did warn her. There's that. I never had to go run to turn off a thing. Like, this was far worse than earlier. Whew. Poor baby. Alright, so I'm back to audiobook. I think I am safe. I read a little bit of chapter 20 to make sure. I just filmed my haul. That's why my light is set up. And I actually sat on my bed this time. It was a little bit more comfortable. I have to figure out the angle. I think I was going to start and then I hopped into the shower. So I hopped in the shower, took a nice little shower, then my friend called. Cliff's on call this weekend, so it makes it a little bit harder to concentrate, which sucks, but the only good thing is that I have a daily goal. I am still 223, so I need to read 75 pages. I just wanted to give a little update. I filmed my haul, I filmed all of that stuff, and I really need to edit all these videos that I keep filming. I'm gonna at least reach my 75 page goal. And there's something else I was gonna say. I don't know, Cliff being on call is just really messing me up because he's usually home by now, but he's not gonna be home for a while because he was literally almost here and then he got called, like he was like on our street and then he got called back in. He's like, turn back around. Yeah, but now my bed is covered in books, so.
Hey guys, real quick, there is a flash warning coming up. It'll start with the music and end with the music. So if you're sensitive to flashes, please watch out.
I don't even know where I'm gonna put these. I really need to redo my shelf. Alright guys, so first things first, I did not meet my goal. Hold on. Okay, So I did not get to my 300-page goal. I actually got to 259 and stopped, which is also chapter 24. I did take some notes that I wanted to go through with y'all. So we went through the Queen shenanigans, and that was intense. There was so much going on with that. What is her name? Briellen. And she's like teaming up with the other death god that has Vasa under his wraps, and so they have to find like the dread trove, and everybody's like, well, why can't Feyre do it? And then Feyre's like, oh, I'm pregnant, which I kind of figured because like the second time she was introduced to the book, she still had the shield on, and I'm like, and with how the last book ended, I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, girl. So Nesta had a fun night with Cassian. That was interesting. And then, yeah, very descriptive. And then you have the fight scene with Az and between Cassian and Ness, or not, Cassian and Az, and that was so good. And then on page 256, there was Nesta's having daydreams of having a threesome with Az and Cassian. I was not expecting that. I mean, I'm here for it. Nesta, you a little freak. You are a freak. And I'm here for it. I did not like you before, but now I do. Now you're pretty interesting to me. And yeah, let's do it, girl. So my goal is still to get to 300 and then read to 450. So I have a long way to go. I'm actually playing Animal Crossing right now, which, you know, isn't helping time. It's fine. I have like so many more hours to do everything, but yeah, I just wanted to give that little update. I know it was like very speedy through because I was reading it outside while we were listening to a thunderstorm and just didn't have time to come in and vlog, I guess. But yeah. So I'm really liking this Gwen character. She's really awesome. She just started training, so that's cool. But yeah, so today they're working on their toes. I am at 273, so I'm almost caught up to where I need to be. And then read another 151. So I just want to say Emery is a really cool character, and she's the shopkeeper in the Illyrian like village thing, and she's like one of the only female shopkeepers that are really around in this area. And I like her character. I hope we hear more about her. But also Gwen came and did the training thing. I don't know if I said that earlier, but I'm at 283 and I'm really trying to at least get to my goal of yesterday's 300 and then figure out what I want to do because the new season of Lucifer is on and I really want to watch it. So I just want to say I made it to my 300-page goal, and finally, you know, but now I still have 150 pages to go, so 450, yay, and I'm at 313. Not much is happening. Emery and Gwen are still, Emery started coming to training. And that's cool. Sorry about the lighting. I know it's gonna have little bands across it. It's okay. I'm not feeling the greatest. I feel like somebody is like splitting my head with a knife. Right now they're talking. Apparently Feyre can't stay up past 9. They're having a little moment. Oh, Miss Nesta gave Cassian a blowjob. That's cool. they're having like their little monthly meeting where they, I guess their monthly like family dinner type thing. That's about it. They're talking about how people need to start doing, how Nesta needs to start finding the dread trove and all of this stuff. So they have, well, like all the way, I guess. They just have done everything else besides actual sex. So that's great. But I think that's about it so far. So how am I feeling about the book so far? I don't want to say do I want to compare it to the rest of the series? No. I feel like it is complete, and I believe it is counted as a spinoff from A Court of Thorns and Roses. I would say it is not what I was expecting. I am enjoying it. Just if I put it in a category with them, this would not be my... Besides the sex scenes, the rest of the story is really slow. This big war that's probably gonna come.
Good morning, guys. So today I am in the front room with Eddie, and yeah, so our stash of toilet paper. When you combine two houses with toilet paper, it's a lot. I just want to talk about where I got to. Last night I read quite a bit. My head is still splitting. I don't know what's going on. I'm drinking a Bang. Seeing if it's a caffeine headache. It's helping a little bit. I had no caffeine yesterday, so that might be it. I'm also just not feeling the greatest. I slept awful. I woke up a lot. I got to chapter 33, and we met Meryl and whatever. Then we also met Rosalind, Deirdre, and Anarchy, and they started training with Cassian. Then we went to, they trained, then we met the Meryl chick, whatever. Then her and Cassian did some skyring, and it didn't work. And then she invited everybody, and she found the cauldron, and it made her really, really scared. And then when they came, she went to bed. She had a very bad nightmare. The nightmare caused her to have her silver flames, and Rise was there. Cassian ended up spending the night, like sleeping in a chair in her room. So then they're trying to find the dead trove, or dread, not dead. It's switched those words. Dead, dread trove. It started finding her, like it wanted to kill her. Hold on, Blippi. It started looking for her, and that's when she had like this crazy nightmare. And Cassian was really protective over Nesta. Like, he thought Rice was hurting her. And then we find out what her power is, which we kind of thought, but it's death. Rice is like pure death. Like, it's deadly. And Cassian's like, I'm afraid, but I love her so much, it doesn't matter. And then that's when Cassian realizes, like, she realizes Cassian slept next to her. Oh, her and Emery are talking about the bad dreams. Oh, and then we find out that the baby has wings, and they're kind of, like, in this part, they're kind of like going back and forth. They're not really telling us what is so bad with the baby having wings. Like, it's a great thing if you think about it. There's Rice with wings. There's Cassian and Azriel. What's wrong with having wings? So Azriel and Cassian go and fight it out. Or not Azriel, or Azriel. Rysand and Cassian go and fight it out. And then it's all really beat up. And then Nesta pretty much tells Rysand that whenever I find the Dread Trove, you will be my reward, you know? No. You will be my reward when you're all healed up, because he got really beat up from Rise. Well, they beat each other up, so they both have bruises. And then it pretty much right after that, they go to the Dread Trove. But before that, we go into detail about, with Cassian and Nesta, about why it's so dangerous for the baby to have wings and her not to be an Illyrian, because their bodies are meant to hold it, and it's very dangerous. So like they're like, is she gonna die? And he's like, a few do survive, but it's very dangerous. So then we go back to the skyring and finding out how to do it. And then she is like looking, and everything gets really cold in the room, and so she's like freaking out. And then the way they had to snap her out of it was Cassian like making out with her and her coming to, and they're like, interesting. So then Nesta pulled away and then asked about the bog. I'm probably gonna butcher this. It's Orid, Oorid. The mask is in the bog apparently. And so they go into like this the middle, I believe. It's called the middle, and the middle is a very dangerous place because old magic runs there, and they kind of just let it run free. It's the place where if you're born with reasonings as to why you want to kill things, you go to the middle instead of the prison. The prison is if you made that decision, but they have to be really super armed. And then Feyre and Rise are really upset that they can't go with them, but Feyre really needs to rest because she's now having like a high-risk pregnancy, even though she does not really know that. But yeah. And let's see, so they're flying, they're all really talking. There's not an insect, a bird, nothing. And then my battery's about to die, so let's go through this fast. So then they're like flying, and then all of a sudden the bog of Urid is really bad. They go, like they say, don't even stay in the water. Like there's things in the water that'll get you. There's things pretty much everywhere, things that will lure you. Use your most desire, all of it. And then a big mist comes. She's like, Cassian, and he goes, you sense something? He goes, I don't know what I sense, something is here. And then he looked over his shoulder, and Azriel is gone. And that is where I ended up at. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my battery on the charger. It's kind of slow for me, and the scenes that we do get to, they're good, but they're still slow. It is very differently written than the others.
Okay, so I have a lot to update you guys. I don't think I vlogged at all yesterday. I got some sun. I don't know how I was in the garage the whole time, but I got sun. The kids got sun. We are at the pool again. Cliff's aunt got like a little pool. So I took a bunch of notes because I read quite a bit. So, copy. So I would have done this last night, but I had a 3-hour video to edit down. I have edited it down to 30 minutes in, and I still have a total of 140 minutes like out of the whole thing. So luckily some of it was of a different video and I just didn't realize. Oops. So we're gonna go through this real fast so I can update you guys. I left my camera here by accident, or else I would have been doing it throughout. So my cat is needy today, so this is how far we are. We are now at 464. So the first thing is the Autumn Court is sneaky as shit. They're the ones who shot Az. So somebody shot Az when they went to the bog of Urid. The Kelpie is something that lives in the water. The Kelpie was kind of scary, and not scary like oh my god, but like the way they described it was crazy. And that whole scenario was just, oh my god, like her being dragged underneath the water was just like, what? Oh my god, is she gonna be okay? And then she reached out and grabbed the crown, and then, or not the crown, it was the mask, and somehow survived. So then that's when you go back to Cassian's point of view, and you kind of realize like she gets home, they're talking about it. Nesta and Cassian and Az all get home, and they keep 2 soldiers alive. And so then she goes and takes this bath, and that bathtub, I want that bathtub. That is all I commented, was that bathtub, I want that bathtub. And it was like one of those infinity tubs, and you can see, and it was just I would love, even if I don't need a tub like that, but I would love a infinity pool, you know. So then after that, Nesta and Cassian finally complete the job. finally, it took them forever, and their emotions toward each other after each time they either do a little bit of like non-sex but sex and then sex, they constantly think, oh, the other person did not enjoy it, they are just in it for sex, even though Nesta is the one that continues to bring it up that it's just for sex. So there's that, and it's like, it's kind of getting on my nerves. Then there was the training, and then they took them to go make some swords, and Nesta got to make a sword, and she actually made 3. It was a sword, a dagger, and something else. The girls are learning Valkyrie training, which is like ultimate focus, and they're trying to hide it from Cassian. Yeah, they're just trying to learn ultimate focus. Lucian came back to check to get an update on Nesta. Nesta was boxing and beat the tree up really bad, and it was so cold, it was like smoking, and he was like, mother spare y'all souls or something. Hellion came. He is one of my favorite characters. I don't know why. I guess it's just his sexual orientation where he just sleeps with everybody, and it just, he brings that excitement in. And he also just has like a I don't want to say, he has like a mysterious vibe to him, like you want to know more, plus also, you know, it's Lucian's dad, so does he ever find out that he's Lucian's papa? I don't know. He's looking on at the soldiers that they saved for info, because Azrael did his whole special technique to try and get them to spill their beans. They couldn't. Rise tried to, and they have a fog on them, and might be from the crown from the Dread Trove. I put the page. It was page 424. So, oh, they think it's because of the crown, and because the crown you can control people without their permission. So maybe I did put, because there's a part on 425 that says, because she goes, can you show Nesta how to ward itself, something perhaps with a bit more oomph? And Rise goes, oomph? She goes, oomph. We can't all be silver-tongued like you. And then Rise goes, good thing you benefit from it, Feyre darling. And I wrote, I miss Feyre and Rysand. I really do. It's kind of different because not only are we're not getting their point of views, we're also not seeing them as much. And it's kind of sad, you know? We actually barely ever see them unless somebody's meeting with somebody. So that night we switch back, and Nesta and Cassian, wham bam, thank you ma'am, twice. And yeah, rough and hard, just like Nesta likes and how Cassian likes. Then the next morning, turns out they find out that Nesta has cursed the swords and pretty much made her own Dread Trove, and it could literally like cause wars over these swords, just like the original Dread Trove is causing. Then they kind of switch up because Amren's there, and she kind of leaves. She's like, don't touch them, we need to lock them away, they're very powerful and dangerous, and we just need to go. And so she leaves, and so the boys start talking about no clue on how Feyre is going to live through labor because the baby has wings, but her body does not have the shape for wings, and Illyrian wings are not flexible. And they can't figure out how to do like a C-section because the moms usually don't survive. So Rice is like really freaking out. Feyre still does not know that she could possibly freaking die from something that she's so happy about. And the boys start playing with the swords, with magic, like they're not actually touching them. And by boys I mean as Cassian and Rice. And then the boys, and then she came back and was laughing, was like, I knew y'all couldn't stay away from it. And then they go into discussion about how powerful these swords are, and Amarantha had a Amarantha had a cursed sword, Narbin, and threw it in the sea because she could not figure out how to wield it. And says, talk about picture taken at 10:24 p.m. Put it on the screen and talk about this. So I'm gonna have it popped up right here, but here is 10:24. So it's page 452. Nothing is a fluke. The cauldron's powers flow through Nesta and could use her as a puppet without her knowledge. If it wanted those weapons made, and thus they were made, it wanted Rysand to have them, and thus the blacksmith brought them to you, Rysand, not to Nesta, and do not forget that Nesta herself and Elaine, with whatever power she has, is here.
Feyre is here. All three sisters, blessed by fate and gifted with powers to match your own. Feyre alone doubles your strength. Nesta makes you unstoppable, especially if she were to march in a battle wearing the mask. No enemy could stand against her. She'd slay barren soldiers, then raise them from the dead and turn them on him. Cassian's blood chilled. Yes, Nesta would be unstoppable, but at what cost of her soul? So, that is where they're kind of really talking about, like, Amren is like, you could become king, no longer High Lord, but you could become king, and Feyre could be the queen, and there would be only one ruler. There would be no more of these, like, oh, is Beren going to attack us? Oh, is the Autumn Court, oh wait, that is Autumn Court, is Summer Court going to attack us? Like, so on and so forth. And Rise is just not having it, and Aerys popped up again because Cassian and Nesta went to a meeting with Aerys, and I was like, have I talked about Aerys, like, at all? And I really don't know because I've not started editing this one. I'm kind of behind on editing because I've been stuck in a book. But I was like, have we talked about Aerys? And this whole loyalty thing seems awkward. So Aerys is Beren's son, made a deal or a bargain with Rice, and he's also the one that hurt more. And so, like, it's really hard to trust him, but it's like, okay, he made this deal that he would eventually take over his father's throne, and he would, which is Beren, he would still have like alliances, but it's like he's been sneakily being behind his dad and like talking with them, and it's like, how true is this? And Nesta like called him out on his shit. She was like, hey, so what if you're the one that's controlling your people with the crown and not the queen, what's her name, Briellen? And yeah, so the meeting turned really sour because of that. Like, they're like screaming at each other, and then Aerys tells Cassian, when you leave the animal at home, then we'll talk. And so then it's all of that, and then mind you, they're meeting in the Spring Court, which is Tamlin's territory. Tamlin is a beast now, and he has not been a human Tamlin, at least we don't think so, but he's just been roaming his lands because he has no people. But he shows up, and I had to look up fan art because it is awesome, so put up some fan art right here. And then I said, Nesta calling Tamlin out on page 460. He goes, you're exactly as nasty as your sister said you were. Nesta laughed. I hate to disappoint. I'm not reading all like the little things. I went into the cauldron because of you. Elaine went into the cauldron because of you. I don't care how much you apologize to try to atone for it, or claim you didn't know the King of Hybern would do such a thing, or that you begged him not to. You colluded with him because you thought Feyre was your property. And then she was like pointing at him, and she goes, put that finger down, you witch. She goes, I'm glad you remember what happened to the last person I pointed at. We're going now. And she goes, tell anybody you saw us, High Lord, and I'll rip your head from your body too. So she's referencing the whole King of Hybern thing where she took off his head, and I found some pretty cool fan art for that too. So then they go home and do some 69, Cassian and Nesta. And that was my last comment. So whenever I finally finish where I'm editing and finally reading, then I'll come back to updating. But other than that, but it's the last day of the year, the month, and so happy Memorial Day, and I hope you're having a great one. I don't know, this video is probably going up way past that. Okay, so I finally finished editing probably about a few hours ago. I finished it probably a few hours ago, and I picked my book up immediately and started reading it. I am now 510 in out of like what, 700 something? 750. Yeah, so I have a long way to go, but I plan on finishing it. So some things that happened. Nesta found out about the sword during training because Cassian was like, what would you name a sword if you had the sword? Like, what would you name it? She was like, why are you asking me this? And so she found out about it, completely lost it, went and took a shower, went to the 10,000 steps, climbed down them, and literally found Amren's apartment, destroyed the door, and found a naked Amren and a naked Varian, and in the bed. And so she told Varian, get out, you need to go, goodbye. And then Amren and Nesta started verbally fighting, like going after each other. She was like, I thought you were my friend. And Amren's like, you don't even know what that word means. And they pretty much stopped being friends because Amren mentioned to her, like, hey, maybe we should start practicing magic again, so that way, you know, Feyre said we should do it. And she was like, oh, how dare you take my sister's side. So that's ultimately why they stopped talking. Then, let's see, then Feyre comes and she's like, stop it, oh my god, stop it, you know, mind you, Feyre's pregnant, cute, maybe I can find a picture. Feyre's little cute little belly, and they're still fighting, and she's like, how would you feel if they kept it from you, blah blah blah. Oh, mind you, Rice and Amren were the only two that voted against Nesta knowing about the swords. And so she's like, well, they're doing it to you, Feyre. And Amren's like, stop, don't do that. And then Feyre kind of lets it, Ness kind of lets it spill about the baby and how everybody else knows but Feyre, and that the baby could kill her. And I personally, like, yeah, it was the wrong moment because everybody was fighting, but I feel like they should have told Feyre right off the bat. So I agree with her being told, maybe not in that moment, but I do agree that she should have been told. And I feel like it was the right thing, whether it was in the wrong moment or not. I don't think that was a bad thing to be told. And of course, Cassian is sitting across from Rice as he's getting his little update from Feyre in their brain, and he goes, get Nesta out of the city right now before I fucking kill her. So Cassian finds Nesta running through the street, grabs Nesta. They go to the House of Wind. Az picked up had a bag packed, gives it to his brother. No words are exchanged, and Cass and Ness go. They just leave. They go and hike, or they go to the wilderness. And then as they're sitting there, they get a little message between Cassian and Feyre. Sorry, I'm trying to find the page because it was really sweet on some of the things that she was saying. And I just have to... Oh, and then also when Amren and Nesta were fighting, she pointed at her and she goes, you think I would mark you with a death promise? Because, you know, everybody knows where I fucking killed her. They're talking through, like, the mind. She's like, Cassian, because I forget you can... She goes, I don't think... She says, Ryson overreacted. He completely and utterly overreacted. And she goes, I'm sorry you had to learn of it. She goes, I'm not. I'm furious with all of you. I understand why you didn't tell me, but I'm furious. And then he's like, well, we're furious with Nesta. And he's like, she had the courage to tell me the truth. And he goes, perhaps, but she was the only one who said it. And he goes, I think she saw the parallels between your situations and in her own and decided to avenge both of you. And she goes, that's my feelings too. Rice disagrees. And she goes, he goes, I wish you found out a different way. She goes, well, I didn't, and we'll face it together, all of us. And she's like, she goes, Rice had no right to chase you from the city or to threaten Nesta. He has realized that and apologized. I want you to come back home, both of you. Where did you even head off to? And he goes, I think we'll stay out here for a few days. We're going to a hike. He said the wilderness. And then Nesta has never been on a hike in her life. I guarantee she will hate it. Then tell Rice this is her punishment. Then tell him that Nesta and I are going to a hike and she's going to hate it, but she comes home when I decide she's ready to come home. He says that he knows he's supposed to say that's unnecessary, but to tell you he's secretly delighted. Good. I'm secretly glad to hear that. Please take care of her, Cassian, and yourself. How can you be so calm about this? The alternative is fear and panic, and I will not let my son feel those things. I will fight for him, for us, until I no longer can. And oh my god, that part just got to me. Like, that's such a mother thing to do. And then you get to the hike. The hike is a very long few days of process. They're not really speaking. Cass makes breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, and then she eats, or she doesn't. She goes back to bed. She's staying away from fire because, you know, every time she hears fire, she hears her father's neck crack. And then when she finally, I don't even know how many days, but she finally just sits down and starts crying, and Cass is there and he's like, what is going on? And she literally goes into detail about how she can't hear fire, and like she just hears the neck snap. She can't control these emotions because she's just tired of living like that, pretty much, and that she's so exhausted from it. And I felt that from somebody who is a survivor of PTSD. It is difficult sometimes, and when your thoughts are all in your head because you can't express them, it just makes it very hard. So I very related to that. But he held her and he was like, I can't tell you when or why it's going to get better, but it's going to get better. You just have to work at it. You have to work at it. And I was like, oh my gosh, Cass. And then it kind of hit him when he realized, like, all the times that everybody just thought she was being ugly, it was because she was uncomfortable because there was a fire or something similar to a fire that was crackling, like winter solstice. The fire was going and they had it loud all night. The reason why she was uncomfortable during all of the camping that they had just recently did, the reason why she slept so far away from the fire is because that's all she heard. And so it's kind of coming into his brain like, oh crap, she wasn't just being a bitch, pretty much. Like, she was suffering and none of us picked up on it. Yeah, Ness could have mentioned that, but as somebody who suffers from that, it's very hard to mention some things that are difficult, you know? So like I said, my goal is still to finish this today. It is kind of late, but I still plan on finishing it. No matter how late it is, I'm gonna try and stay up. I'm still drinking coffee. Okay, so I just want to say, first off, before I start any discussing, I finished. I'm done. Finished on the last day of May. So that's great. This is filmed on June 1st. And yeah, I had stuff to do. I have a lot to update you guys on. I took notes because I could not physically put down the book and vlog it. So I took notes up to a certain point, and then we're gonna like kind of thumb through because yeah, it was an emotional ride. And then we'll get to our ending. When I say we have a lot of notes, yeah, this is gonna be long. I guess it's more of a discussion than anything, than a reading vlog. They pretty much had sex all weekend. They were gone for a whole week. I think last time I had commented that it was I wasn't sure how long they were gone. Turns out they were gone for a week, guys. There's that. They do it at least once a day. Ness went to a service with the priestesses from the library and went on a little scurrying adventure without knowing that's how she found the harp, and that the harp is underneath the prison. And Bryce is allowing Ness to take one of the swords she created because he said, oh, you're gonna need it. Oh, I know where this is going. Aw, I don't think I did that. The vlog went up for Wings in Ruin, and it was supposed to add the Ouroboros photo. So yeah, oops. Found a tunnel under the prison. Brylan knows where they are. She somehow like saw her when she touched the harp, and was like, I know who you are. I know where to find you. I'm coming for you, pretty much. And there is a dark memory with the harp that somebody had trapped himself and children in the harp, but I don't think they ever touched base on that again. I don't know. This book has been banned. Y'all can't really. There you go. And I actually have a little discussion about these books that I want to talk to y'all about as well. Let's see, we're gonna add that at the bottom so I don't forget. Let's see. As they leave to escape with the harp, Lanthe's cell opens, and Lanthe is the person that Cassian put in there, and Lanthe also almost spilled that Cassian and Nesta were mates, and Cassian quickly shut that shit down. He was like, oh no, you are not ruining this chance, because probably like Feyre, these sisters just don't like the word Feyre and Elaine, because Elaine doesn't like her mate either, which is Lucian. And so he's like, oh no, we're not doing this. So he quickly shut that down. He tells Nesta to run. So Nesta's running, and then she goes back because she realizes, I left him behind. Why did I leave him behind? I'm always running from things. Let's go back and fight. And they start fighting Lanthe. Lanthe calls her a queen of queens and shows her a world of like, if she took his hand and said, let's do this, she would be the queen of queen, pretty much ruler of all, because she would have the whole dread trove and she would have her powers, you know, the powers. So, and then she snaps out of it and then overtakes him with Cassian's help. She's like slapped him with the sword that she named that I can't pronounce, so we're not gonna pronounce it. And then it like stuck him in his human form, so he couldn't turn into mist. And I would like it if these characters stopped being able to turn into mist, because it's very hard to find like a fan art on them. And then she ended up being able to kill him. They escaped with the harp. They went to Valeris. She like strung 2 or 3 of the things and then to Valeris. She asked about the wild hunt. Lanthe, knowing that about this wild hunt, would be like 15,000 years old. The Fae were not the wild hunt. I'm sorry, I know, I'm just like, it's based off the notes. I really don't remember these parts. I mean, I do remember them, but I don't remember like in detail that I wrote them, because my goal was not to finish the book and update y'all this much. The Fae were not the first masters of the world. They were created by beings who were near gods and monsters. The Daglin, sounds cool, enslaved humans and the Fae. Interesting. So from what I remember is they enslaved the humans and Fae, but eventually Gwendolyn, I think is the name of the king and stuff, and they like rose and took out all of them. And then yeah, now they have to come up with a plan to get the crown, because now they have the harp and the mask. Now they need the crown. So she went back to so Nesta and Cass went to the cabin, and she's like reliving things and seeing all the stuff that is different, because it was a lot of pain and she didn't realize it was pain in it. She's gonna have to dance with Eris at the winter solstice. Moore is teaching Ness how to dance. At least I don't know if there's a difference between the human waltz and the Fae waltz, and they went to the library together. Emery kind of blushes when Moore is around. Ooh, what's going on with the head? Gwen got them presents, and for the winter solstice, and it was actually her writing them into part of the book that her boss was writing. So that's kind of cool. Nesta actually sat in front of a fire to meditate and actually told herself, like, it's a fire, it's not my father's neck snapping, it's a fire, not his neck. When she snapped out of that, the house gave her like a little trail, and the house brought her down through the library and to that black abyss thing in the library to show it's the house's heart and the darkness that has been taking care of Ness, and that suddenly she wanted a friend. And yeah, I don't know if I put that in there, but we're gonna go a little bit out of order for this part. But she wanted a friend, and so Amryn put it 2 to 2 that she wanted a friend, so she made it into the house. And yeah, so the house was there and they kind of healed together, you know. The night of the winter solstice is in the nightmare court. Love that. Feyre announced her pregnancy. I hope I can find a fan art. I have not looked at the fan art. Like I said, I was just taking notes and then I would just quickly go back to reading. So that's why some of these notes I have to like depict on what I was saying. But Feyre announced her pregnancy, and I want to try and get pictures of all their outfits, so hopefully I can find that. Eris and Ness danced beautifully, but Cassian couldn't take anymore and took Nesta. And then we found out he was taking lessons from Moore. Oh my god, that was so beautiful. Eris is talking to Rice. Feyre, Moore, and Cass are all in the mind of Rice. Oh, and then like trying to figure out what he wants, and turns out he wants the hand of marriage in exchange for being allies. And Feyre replies, can't we throw him to the beast under the cell and be done with him? Bloodthirsty Feyre. She's crazy. And then Feyre also said in the mind, you can return every solstice present in exchange for letting me tear him apart. I was like, dang. As and Ness were waltzing, they're at the river house now. She said, oh fuck you to Elaine. Oh, they went for presents, and Elaine was like, don't upset her. And she's like, oh fuck you. And so there's that. She said, oh fuck you to Elaine, and then they laughed it off. Like they literally just laughed. She's like, oh, you've never done that, so I guess that's a start. And then Elaine and Az keep staring at each other, and yeah, I have hints. I hope the next one is about Elaine and maybe like more. I wouldn't mind Az's point of view, but he's just too quiet for me to feel like, I'm pretty sure a lot happens in his life,
but I would prefer Elaine and more, and maybe Rysand. Like, I need somebody from the old crew. No offense, Ness. I really liked you. We'll get to that in a minute. They do gift exchanges. Elaine and Feyre got Nesta one, and Az got her the sweetest gift. It was a light, pretty much like a light that you use to read your book at night, but with a Fey light. And then she got tired. I really don't remember what Elaine and Feyre gave her. I obviously didn't write it down, but I thought Az's gift was really sweet. And she went, everybody was too drunk to go home, so they slept at Feyre's house, and which Feyre decorated just for her, and it was perfectly. And Cass comes in, gives her his present, which was a little ball, and it had music in it, and he made all of these musicians like play, and it filmed it, and so she could always listen to music. And then that's when Ness was like, take it back. He goes, it's not a fucking wedding ring, like, it's a present, just take it. She goes, Ness is going to marry Eris, and threw it in Cass's face, and I'm just not okay with it. I started crying, not crying, but I started like getting really emotional. And then it turned because he was like, you're not marrying anybody, you're mine. And she was like, I'm yours forever. And then they did it at the river house, and there will be no one else for either of us. And they made love, beautiful, amazing love, and finally admitted they're mates, but did not say those words, but their souls are starting to recognize it. And Feyre said, for it was music between their souls, always had been, and his voice was her favorite melody forever. And she asked him to finally stay with her, like, throughout the night. And then they slept, and then he went for a snowball fight, then went to go stay at one of the Illyrian camps for a few days, which ended up being like a week. And she invited Emery and Gwen to spend the night. I love them together. And apparently he's got the walk, and the walk is, you know, when a male knows how to use his cock well, and struts around with that swagger and basically declares it to everyone. And I was also warned that a lot happens in the last few pages, because I was like, page 615 is where I was at. Oh yeah, a lot did happen. The slumber party was so fun. I really liked it. I was like, I kind of want an adult slumber party. Mads, Lily, you down? And so Lily will watch this when it goes up. I don't know if Mads will be caught up, but she might. But yeah, whenever you get to this, Mads, you down? Lily, you down? Let's figure it out. Send me the deets. And now they're gonna make bracelets, and they're talking about their sisters, like all of that. And when Cass came back, he knew it had changed. It was a moment he would tell his children, his grandchildren. And I was like, little baby Cassians. They three became Valkyries. Next day there was an obstacle course. 3 hours in, they got halfway. And something stirring between Gwen and Az. Yeah, they have a little like playing thing towards each other. They passed the blood right qualifier. That's what the little obstacle course was. And she got to the bottom of 10,000 steps and came back, saw Cassian, gave him a bunch of kisses. Party was started. She was so happy. She told Amryn she was sorry. Yeah, I remember that. And then Amryn said a whole paragraph that's helpful. 633. I know, I remember this part though. I will try and put a picture of the whole paragraph right here. The part that I wanted to read, because I mean it's a whole paragraph and I don't feel like reading all that, especially with how much I have to catch it all up on, and this is already a 16-minute clip. The struggle with the darkness is worth it just to see such things. Welcome to the Night Court, and Nesta Arcturion. I literally teared up on that part too, because I was like, oh, my whole little heart is kind of defrosting. It jumped, had time jump. It's spring now, no war or attack. Armies don't attack in the winter. The mood didn't help with a red star blasting across the sky one day. Apparently it's an ill omen. And Feyre's only 2 months away from giving birth, and still no word on how to save her and the babe. They met with Eris. Everything is a mess. They fought about being a mate. Seems familiar, huh? She got more to winnow her to Emery's house, and Gwen showed up. They talked and she realized they are mates, and the word isn't that scary, and she's gonna tell Cassian tomorrow, but something happens and it turns out it's the blood right. I really thought it was gonna be the queen, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's the blood right. All the girls are there, and the guys, and all the girls are all in their nightgown and in 3 separate places. Cassian wants to go get her, but he can't because he will be executed, and then she will be executed. Eris was captured by Brylin, the queen, and they have to go get him, and Rise cannot go because Era and Rise made a bargain that they die together no matter what. So if one dies and the other one's not even there, the other one dies. So if Feyre dies, for instance, giving birth, then Rice dies as well. Ness ran to a random knife before one other person in the killing ring before it got there in time and ended up killing him. Also, there's supposed to be no weapons in the blood right, so weird. And she wants to go find the girls, obviously, and her bracelet started glowing, and she attacked this other guy and like got him in the leg and just left him there. She finally found I was like, so the blood right has weapons, it's not supposed to have weapons, so it's like an adult Hunger Games. May the odds ever be in your favor. I literally wrote that. She found Emery unconscious. Bladsar came, the guy that shot an arrow, the one that she also, I didn't even say that. I just put Bladsar came, the guy that shot an arrow at her. The guy that she threw the knife at also shot an arrow at her. Emery finally wakes up. They go to find Gwen, fall into a trap with Emery's wicked cousin, and then a weird cat comes, starts fighting them. That's when Gwen and the girls, Gwen shows up, takes her and the girls, and they start running. Then we go back to Cassian's point of view. Cassian and Az are just waiting, watching the palace of the queen. 4 days, nothing has been moved from the palace, no sign of Eris. Eris finally came out riding atop a wagon with a dagger, so now now they're following him. And the girls' story were so heartbreaking. Hello?
Hi, this is Vanessa, and I'm giving you a call from the dealer service center.
I don't own a car. Girl, we find out about Gwen's story, we find out about Emery's story, and we also find out about, well, we already knew Nessa's story, but we find out that she finally tells them, and then it's like, it's a heartbreaking bonding moment because it's all stories that they thought that would be in their friendship, and then it doesn't, and it just makes them closer, so they're like, fuck you, let's go climb Ramiel. And then it says, tell the rest of the story. I don't know how many pages that is. So they climb Ramiel, turns out there's like a group of guys are coming. Eris ends up leading the guys to this area, like this lake area, and turns out Eris is, they thought he's a traitor, turns out he was just under this queen's spell. And we also found out that the cousin of Emery put the weapons there because she, which turns out to be the queen, Briellen or whatever, she put them there, so whatever. So they start climbing up top of the mountain, then they realize the guys are catching up and they just can't, like, Gwen was being carried by Nesta. Nesta just could not do it anymore. And so there's that. Then that's when I'm like all out of order, but that's when Cassian goes and tells Eris, like, hey, you're a lying little bitch, like, I knew you were a lying bastard. And then he goes, yes, all that old business with the Morgan, how boring of you to cling to it. And Cassian being the Morgan, Eris never referred to her like that. Let him go, Briellen. So they automatically knew. And then the lake, what's his name? I say the lake. It's okay, so then we go back to Nesta's and they fall and it puts them further down, and so there's that. And then she's like, it's the only way, we have to go. So Nesta like pinches a nerve in her neck, and then Gwen goes to sleep, and so Emery and Gwen climb up while Nesta fights off Emery's cousins. And yeah, so then they make it to the top, they click the little button. Oh, and then Kochi comes, the like third brother of Miss Bryaxis, Strega, the weaver, and the bone carver. And then Ness stood in the little pass of Inalius, and that's where she drew her line for her enemies. The cousin came running towards her. She's like, not today. Azriel's like, where's Briellen? And Kochi goes, I spent so many months preparing for you, and you don't even want to speak to me. And he's like, let Eris go, and then we'll talk. It took them a long time to make contact because she just didn't have time. And then that's when they take over Cassian. And then Emery and Gwen had won. Woohoo, girl power. And so her and the cousin are fighting. He's like, oh, you think you could fight me? She goes, I think I can because my mate taught me. And so he's like kicking her butt. And then that's when Cassian shows up and grabs her, and she's like, oh, thank God. And he goes, and now I'm going to slit your pretty little throat. So she's like, fuck. And then his mate, like, in her arms, he's like giving her the eyes, like, just kill me, because I really don't want to hurt you. And so then Briellen kind of pins Cassian and Ness together, and Cassian's like, I'm not gonna do it, like. And then she was like, just
kill or something, and so Cassian took that chance to, she said, kill. That's all she said. And so Cassian took it as that he was going to stab himself, so he stabbed himself. And then that's when Nesta dawn hit, so that's when Nesta pretty much had to got all her powers back and released and pretty much turned her young and then turned her to dust. And then turns out Cassian did not. He's like, I figured I should lay low. Well, you did that because he did not. I'll tell you what, my heart was just pounding. And then Mor and Azriel, their face is grave. Eris, he's safe, and the maid dagger is in our possession. So Eris is pissed and confused. He's at the human city, but Mor said it's Feyre, and my heart dropped. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna start crying again. Oh, my legs are asleep. Feyre, their little baby. Shelly River House was so silent like a tomb. She started bleeding a few hours ago. She's months away from getting birth. This whole thing was so hard because like literally right before she like they're like talking and she's like, just Feyre's like, do it, like just get this baby out of me. And she knew like the consequences, that she was most likely going to die, you know? Either way, she knew she was going to die, but they at least figured they had a few more months to figure it out. That is when Maja told Rice go into her mind and take the pain away. He goes, Feyre darling, and I'm gonna cry. He goes, Feyre darling. She goes, no goodbyes, Rice. And oh my god, I'll tell you what, this had my heart going, because I was like, oh my god, every time there's a happy ending, there's just another sad ending, and I really can't mourn anybody else. Rice was crying, and tears began pouring down Mor's face as she gazed at the silent babe in her arms, like the baby wasn't breathing or anything. And then Maja swore on Rice began screaming. Cassian knew as he lunged for Feyre on the bed what was about to happen, yet no force in the world could stop it, so pretty much she was dying, and Rice could like feel it because of their bargain. In the world slow, there was the silent too small babe. There was Feyre, sliced open and bleeding out on the bed. There was Rice and screaming as if the soul was being shredded. And they pulled Rice away and let the healer Maja try and save her. And that's when Nesta grabbed the heart piece. So before anybody could stop Nesta, she grabbed the harp and strung all of them in slow time. And Lanthe had told her that even death will stop at the sound of the harp. Like it'll stop. She had time. The 26th string on the harp was time itself, and Nesta stopped it as Feyre took her last breath. And then Lanthe had said as much, that even death bowed to the final string. That time was of no consequence to the harp. And so she starts begging and saying, I will give anything to give you, like, just to have all of this, have all my people here feel happiness and live life. Like, please don't take this from me. Like, don't take it from me, just don't. And so with that, she gave her powers back. Well, most of them, because things stopped her, and they believe it's the mother. The mother is the one thing that stopped her, because she felt the connection that she didn't need to be without it completely. And she kept saying, like, she gives it all back. And she gives it all back, and she gives it all back. And that she just kept going. And that's when Feyre came back. She goes, I love you too. Like, during that time, like when time was frozen, Ness was just telling Feyre, she's like, I love you, I never told you I loved you, but I love you. And then the baby started crying, and she's like, let him feed. So she starts breastfeeding, which is great. And then Rise fell to his knees and took Nesta's hands, pressing his mouth to her fingers, and he said thank you. He wept, head bowed. Cassian knew it wasn't in gratitude for Rice's own life that he knelt upon the sacred tattoos inked upon his knees. And Nesta dropped to the carpet, lifted Rice's hands in his face and her hands, and studied what lay in it. That she drew her arms around the High Lord of the night court and held him tightly. That part really got me. Rise has 2 tattoos on his knees that he would never kneel for anybody, and so that was a pretty big moment. Then Gwen and Emery were at a parlor, and that's apparently where they got transferred to, and they were just chilling there. And she goes, you won the entire damn thing. She said the stone had healed them, it had healed every wound, and we arrived here of all places. And then Emery was like, I'm a Valkyrie, I don't care about my family. They decided to name the baby Nyx, and It was very sweet. You hear about his little delicate wings and those pretty, she goes, you have no idea how much trouble this one is going to be to get into. And Feyre goes, those pretty eyes will be to blame, I'm sure. So then that's when Ness and Cassian finally talk, and oh god, I cried on this part. He goes, what did you change? She goes, I changed myself a little too, so none of us will have to go through this again. He goes, you're ready for a baby? And then I'm like, oh my god, little baby Cassian again. She goes, god no. I'll be taking my contraceptive tea for a while yet, but I adjusted myself to match what the cauldron did for Feyre and for when the time is right. Oh, you could have ruled the world with your power. She goes, I don't want to rule the world. And he goes, what do you want? She goes, you've had me from the moment you met me. He goes, I know. And he goes, Nesta said, I want a disgustingly ornate mating ceremony. She goes, really? Why not? Because I'll never hear the end of it from Azriel and more. And she goes, then here, food from me to you, my mate. That's the official ritual, isn't it? The sharing of food from one mate to another, which is what Nesta did. He goes, those are my two options. A really mating ceremony or a stale biscuit? He goes, yes. He goes, we'll make a coronation of it, Nest. She goes, I already have a crown. I just want you. And that's when, like, she'll always be connected to the Dread Trove. Like, it'll always have a calling for her. And she has sort of a connection or understanding with the mother. So I feel like the mother's gonna be present. I don't know how, but Nesta pulled away whispering, I love you. They met with Eris and he says he can't stay long, and turns out he took a brutal beating and still didn't spill the secret, so he is a strong ally. Brutal beating by his father, by the way. And he goes, why does it matter to you all so much? Oh, because I wanted to know why did you leave more in the woods that day? Was it just to impress your father? Because he keeps saying like that's not all to the story, but won't tell us what's all to the story, so it's kind of getting annoying. He goes, why does it matter to all of you? He goes, because she's my sister and I love her. He goes, I didn't realize Illyrians were in the habit of fucking their sisters. He goes, it still matters because it doesn't add up. You know what a monster your father is and want to assert him, and you act against him in the best interest of not only the Autumn Court but also of all the fairylands. You risk your life to ally with us, and yet you left her in the woods. Is it guilt that motivates all of this? Because your father left her to suffer and die. And he goes, I didn't realize I'd be facing another interrogation session. He goes, give me a damn answer. He goes, you're not the person I want to explain myself to. What's gonna happen with that? But he goes, I think you might be a decent male. Eris, deep down, trapped in a terrible situation. He goes, I grew up surrounded by monsters. I spent my existence fighting them. I see you, Eris. You're not one of them. Not even close. I think you might even be a good male. You're just too much of a coward to act like one. And I was like, oh, burn. Part I did cry on because it is the last thing part of it, and everybody would go for walks with Feyre and Nyx, and they would do things together, you know, and they would just walk around. And so one day Feyre, Elaine, and Nesta and Nyx all went for a walk. I'm gonna start crying again. And they went up this hill, and she goes, your grandson, father. Oh my god, crying. And so they each had a little moment, which Nesta, that was her, I think her first time going ever to his grave, and it was just this crazy little thing. And she gave her father a little carved rose from her pocket and set it upon the gravestone and told him thank you, blinking back the stinging in her eyes, thank you. And a shadow swift passed over them, followed by a whisper of wings, and Nesta didn't look up to know who sailed high. The busybody. It was Cassian. She blew a kiss to him, her mate, her love, her friend. The light within her chest brightened enough. She found Feyre and Elaine waiting halfway down the hill. Nyx now dozing peacefully in Elaine's arms, her sister's beam beckoning her to join. And Nesta smiled back, and her steps light as hurried down the hill to meet them. And I thought it was a beautiful ending. Grab my drink real fast, and then we're gonna talk about my overall thoughts. So my final thoughts on this book. For me, going into a book that I did not really like one of the characters. I loved one, I did not like the other. So it kind of made it hard. I was not sure how I was gonna like it. I would say kind of like halfway through, I was kind of over it. I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with Nesta. I was kind of done with the whole back and forth thing. Ultimately, I loved it. I did not just like it, I loved it. I cried. It gave me everything I wanted. It gave me action. I was really kind of expecting a huge war, but it ended up being, I mean, there was the queen, whatever, cool. Overall, it was definitely written very different than the rest of the books. The rest of the books had this, I don't really, they each had their own agenda, but this one was just completely different, and I absolutely love it. Like, I absolutely loved the difference of it. There was a lot more
more woohooing than I thought. I was told there was a lot of woohooing, but I did not expect that much woohooing. And I'm just curious, how did we not end on a woohoo scene? What? So it ended perfectly. I honestly would be happy with anybody's point of view for the next book. I believe there's going to be a next book just because there's too much looming around in this book, and I would honestly be okay with anybody's perspective unless it's Tamlin's, honestly. So I have the paperback with all of these books, and sadly I returned my hard copy of this one so I could get a paperback. Well, the only problem I'm having is that this paperback, I know I talked about it at the beginning of the video, but it's been a while since I talked about it, like in real life. It's really bothering me that this paperback is taller and I believe wider. Yes, it is wider. I mean, just barely wider, a little bit of wide, and way taller, and that's really gonna bug me on my shelves. So I'm gonna keep them for a little bit. I heard this is more like spin-off, and then A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin were like the trilogy. This is a novella, which I did not really notice that until later on. So technically this is the 4th book. I'm pretty sure I corrected myself. But yeah, this is the 4th book, and this is the bookmark that came with it. So it's just, I might slowly start purchasing all of the hardcovers, and if I keep these then I have 2. If not, I will probably give it to somebody that I know. That is what I wanted to talk to y'all about the book. Now let's talk to you about the future of where do I want to take the channel, because I read a whole series. Yes, my first series on this channel, and in a very long time. So I will be having a discussion post. I have not decided if it's going up on a Tuesday or a Saturday, but I will have a discussion post going over my overall thoughts of all the books, and obviously we might as well just call it I Hate Tamlin, because I do talk a lot of crap about Tamlin, and I am so sorry about that. I really don't need to, but I did, and I did not notice that until. But I should make a group and call it I Hate Tamlin. I'm actually taking, I think, a day off reading. Maybe I might start another one. I'm really digging, I really want a thriller, but I will be doing a discussion about all of these, and it will be my first discussion, and I'm going to go over everything that I liked, that I disliked, which I think we all know what I disliked, and I think we all know what I liked. But just overall talking, like going through individual each book, maybe like find something online like the best pair or best things said in each book or something like that. See if I remember some of them. There's so much, and that will be going up soon. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Enjoy my new outro. My outro will have this book at the end of it, so that's crazy. And I finished it in time for May, for my May wrap up. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye. Hey guys, so I'm here from the future, but it's the past to you, but future now. So it is now the 6th of June, something like that, and I just found out that there is a secret chapter to A Court of Silver Flames, and it's through Az's point of view. And yeah, so I just want to talk to y'all about that real quick. So it kind of goes through Az's point of view after the winter solstice, and he gives Elaine her present, and he's like, I just didn't want to give it to you because, you know, your mate's here. And yeah, so I don't like this light. So they exchange gifts, and she gives him earbuds because, you know, he's living in the house with Nesta and Cassian, and that's a little going on. And so she's like, here you go, you know, I figured they wouldn't accept the joke, so, or at least Elaine wouldn't. And then she was like, so here you go. And then Cassian gives her the present, and it's a little, or not Cassian, Az gives her a little necklace and puts it on her neck, and then they kind of have like a moment where they just really want to, you know, kind of rip each other's clothes off. Then Rysand comes in, and he's like, oh, no, come to my office now, let's go. And so then he's like, you can't do that.
why are you trying to do that? Her mate's here, like it's gonna cause this whole war, it's gonna be this horrible thing, like let's not do this. So then he kind of goes, he leaves angrily, you know, he's like whatever, and goes back to the House of Wind. And then the House of Wind has a Gwen is up there, she's exercising, doing her own thing, and so he's like, oh yeah, they have like a little moment too, and she kind of, then he gives her the present, and it's kind of just like, okay, so where is this going? And my heart kind of really felt for Az, because he did say something along the lines that 3 girls were made from the cauldron. 2 of his brothers have 2 of those girls and they're mates, and he's like, what about me? And so his feelings are kind of like, I'm not worthy, you know. And I feel that, but I feel like Elaine is not worthy of Az. No matter how much I want it to happen, I feel like that is not worth it. And she is Lucian's mate, so that just doesn't work out. Even though you do not have to be with your mate for the rest of your life, it's just there's always going to be that pulling towards this person. Elaine hasn't even given Lucian a chance, so we're just not even going to entertain that idea. But I'm totally down for an Az and Gwen scenario, as long as it's for the right intentions and they no longer have to keep going back and forth, you know. So I just hope they all kind of have a happy ending. But yeah, I just want to add those thoughts, and I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.